Hey world, welcome to Anywhere the Needle Drops. Welcome to another episode. We have another good one for you today. We are hanging out with Indianapolis band Union Suit Rally. Calling themselves, well, we kind of figured this out during the show, the Voltron of country bands. They kind of have a nice mix of folk, americana, a little bit of bluegrass in there, but definitely with some rock and roll, even a little punk rock attitude in there, which we get into the musical history of the guys here, and you can see where some of that comes from. They just call it the Midwest sound, but I do like that Voltron of country bands that we came up with during the conversation. We didn't have the whole band here, but we did virtually cram quite a few of them into the Red Chuck studio. We had Brad, Chris, Brandon, and John of the band hanging out. And we just talked about their latest album, which is called Sin It Up Now, Hash It Out Later, and their history, how they formed this band kind of out of the remnants of many other bands and really many other genres. They just sort of worked their way into this sound that they have now, and it's a really fun sound. I really enjoy it. I do love me a little bit of americana, American roots music, and I also love some rock and roll, and they do a great job of just smashing it all together. So we're going to talk to those guys now, but before that, actually, we're not going to talk to them now, because before that, we're going to hear one cut off that latest album. It is available now in all your streaming places, and of course, you can buy it directly from the band as well, which you should. You know what I'm always saying, give bands your money. But we're going to hear the song Lie to Me, one of my favorite tracks off the album Sit It Up Now, Hash It Out Later, and then my conversation with Union Suit Rally begins after. Enjoy.
So good about the truth. It hurts people all the time. Maybe sin is the sweeter fruit, even when it's rotten on the vine. And I ask you, what's so good about the truth? If you don't love me, lie to me. Say you love me one more time. Yeah, the truth, it doesn't always set you free. So if you don't love me, baby, just lie to me. What's so bad about a lie? If you know you can get away clean, you don't need an alibi. If you can burn it all with a match and gasoline. And I ask you, what's so bad about a lie? If you don't love me, lie to me. Say you love me one more time. Yeah, the truth, it doesn't always set you free. So if you don't love me, baby, just lie to me. If you don't love me, baby, just lie to me.
Well, welcome to the show. So you guys is it Indianapolis? Is that where you guys are based out of?
We would tell people Indianapolis, although we're kind of spread out around central Indiana, but for the sake of people knowing where the heck Indianapolis is, we just say Indianapolis.
We'll say the Indy metro area.
There you go.
Metro area. There you go. All right. That covers all the bases. Yeah. So how long have you guys been together?
Well, I think
that's
about
a much more loaded question than it should be. Honestly.
Yeah, I think this band's been playing together about 10 years or so.
As your rally's been together 10 years. Yeah.
We've known each other, most of us 20 to 30 years, some of us. I've been in bands with Brandon back here. I mean, God, I don't know how long, Brandon, 25 years?
1998?
Seven. Okay. Going for nothing. So since 97, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been playing with a couple of these guys for a long time. Our banjo player, Randy, and I have known each other over 30 years. We've probably been writing songs together for as long. So it's a while. We've known each other a while.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. That's awesome. So I'm trying to think, the first time I came across you guys, it was Jeff Rice. He's the one that turned me on to your music. And it was I don't know. It wasn't the most recent album. It was a couple years back. And he's like, you got to check these guys out. You got to check these guys out, And it's one of those things where like, how many people tell you got to check these guys out, right? And
sure, I get that.
Finally, I'm like, all right, Jeff, I'll get around to it eventually. And man,
so what you're saying is, so what you're saying is he just bugged you enough.
Pretty much.
And you were like, look, I got to check these guys out so I can at least say, I checked them out, dude.
Just to get Jeff right off your back, the way off your back.
That's how it goes. One of my favorite movies of all time, I'll never forget. It was that same kind of situation where it was someone told me I had to watch it. I absolutely had to watch it. And I was just like, I don't know. Like, I don't have time for this. I got other things I want to do. And then I knew I was going to run into this person again, and I knew they were going to ask me if I'd watched it yet. So I finally sat down and watched it after putting it off for weeks. And the movie like broke me in like the best of ways. It's one of my favorite movies.
What movie was it? What movie was it?
Have you seen the movie once?
My dad's from Ireland. Yes, I've seen the movie a few times.
Okay, that's the one, right?
Street musicians, like street buskers.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful movie.
It's very good, and the way it's shot, it's very uniquely done, and the music's amazing. It's so good, but I'll never forget being so begrudging about having to watch this damn movie, and then blew me away. So. I don't know if you've ever heard the term friend homework, but I like to toss that one around a lot.
That's a good term.
Yeah. I've never heard that exact term, but that makes sense in so many ways.
Everyone's always throwing you YouTube videos or whatever. That, you gotta watch this. You got to see this, and it's just like, dude, in this era of content overload, there's just so much, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about you guys, and I was glad.
No, this is relevant though. This is relevant because we have crept to the surface like a fine cream.
That's right.
And you have finally tasted.
Brad's cream.
Man, that's something.
Yeah, that was something. You're right. That was something.
So when you first listened to the new album, I mean, did it grab you immediately? Like, what was the song? Like, hey man, this is cool.
So I again, the first one I heard was an album or so before that. It was a release before that was the first thing I heard. But then Midwest, you guys were on my rate. What's that?
Midwest of the Midbest.
Yeah, that might have been it. Yeah, that might have been it. But then you guys at that point, you're on my radar. And so I was like, oh, yeah, when the new album comes out, I'm going to check it out. And of course, Jeff made sure to mention it to me. Hey, the new album's out. Yeah, check it out. And I did. And I don't recall a specific track off the top of my head, but just that I mean, you guys are right in my wheelhouse. I mean, I grew up, my dad was always playing a ton of, I mean, he had his metal and his rock and roll, but he was also always playing, old country and Americana and, taking us to a bluegrass fest and stuff like that. And
He's
so
good and eclectic.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I have such a place in my heart for that kind of thing. And so it was I really loved the new album. I mean, Jeff and I went back and forth about it a little bit. You guys really went for it this time. I mean, it's a solid listen straight through from beginning to end. So
thanks, man.
Well, this one was a lot more effort too. Like, the first two albums that we recorded were basically in our old guitar player's basement. We handled all the production in house. I mean, for the second album, he was mixing and mastering with his then 6-month-old daughter on his lap, in one hand as he was trying to do everything there.
Yeah.
So for this one, we knew we wanted to go a bit bigger. So we pulled in Matt Strakis to produce. We picked a cool house in Fountain Square, which is on the south side of Indianapolis, that had a lot more history than I realized. But it's this cool 125-year-old house that.
Used to be a music college.
Used to be music college, yeah. Used to be
they moved it down the street.
They did. So some friends of ours, they live in Fountain Square, which is like this really hip part of Indianapolis. Historic. It's got a lot of cool restaurants and shops and things like that. There was this house that they were going to tear down to make way for these new modern apartments, right? And so some friends of ours. It's really kind of I'm going to make a really long story really short and just tell you the good part. They swooped in and bought this house, but they needed to move it.
Physically move the house.
They moved, dude, and this is not.
It's a 3-story house.
This is not a 1-story shotgun house on a slab. This is a 3-story giant house on a basement that they moved. They created a new foundation. Moved the house, set it on top of this foundation, right next door to the house they actually live in.
Which is like almost kind of a twin house to it. So
They call it the sister houses.
Sister house.
So they live in one, party in the other. And so we wanted to record in this party house because the vibe is just so super cool. The level of craftsmanship in just all of the wood in the house is, I mean, you can feel. And I don't want to sound snobby at all, right? But you can feel art in this house. Like you can feel craftsmanship and creativity. I can. I mean, you start looking around and you're like, man, you just pointed something and
feel like you're in decades before. Like the core feels very vintage.
You point at something woodwork in this house and you're like, if you can find somebody on Earth that could replicate that if it ever needed to be replicated, it costs you a mint because of the level of craftsmanship. I mean, it's unbelievable. And we gotta, like Chris was saying, I approached them about the idea of moving into this house for a few weeks to just get this album recorded because we just wanted to catch some of that vibe. And so we Matt Strakis, our producer, moved all of his producing equipment.
And it was well laid out for it too. Like the rooms were perfectly laid out to where we had our control room, we had our live room. Like it wasn't just the vibe of it, but also the layout of it made it really.
It's great. It was easy to communicate. And there was in the room where we were recording, there was a bar, so that was great.
Always good to have that around. Yep.
It had the essentials.
So we had a hoot recording and. It was just a really good experience all around.
So how much of that when you're doing the recording, how much of that is you're doing it live versus you're each taking your turns and recording different channels and that kind of a thing?
It was all over the
So we did a little bit of both of that. So we went down and laid down a live track.
Scratch tracks. That's
what we call scratch tracks. And so what we were doing there is getting John's drums tracks, his drum tracks kind of solidified and
so
down.
Me and Brad did our rhythm, the bass and the rhythm guitar, along with the drums. Got the drums down. Most of my bass tracks we actually kept. I hit pretty solid takes on all my bass tracks, so we did a few little plugins here and there for any little flubs or whatever. But and then a couple of songs I might have put some new ones in, but and then we came in individually with each other instrument and recorded separately.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what is it that drew you all, and you can take turns answering this, but what is it that drew you all to this type of music? I mean, it's certainly, there's been a resurgence when it comes to, more of the Americana styles of music, but, we're in the United States, the land of rock and roll. So what drew you that direction?
Well, does anybody want to start, or I can?
Yeah, you're closest to the mic.
So,
in my opinion, this is completely different than everybody else.
Yeah. So this is going to be an interesting answer because you have 3 or 4 of us here, so you might get 3 or 4
We've
answers.
taken 3 or 4 very different journeys.
I would say that, yeah. So when I first started playing guitar, me and the banjo player, Randy, we wanted to bring, and this was in 95, 96, we wanted to bring folk music back. And we were like, it's like wanting to bring coal jobs back, right? Like coal jobs are not coming back, okay? So in 1995, we wanted to bring they were
heavily Bob Dylan in.
Yeah, we wanted to bring folk music back, knowing full well that folk music had its time and place, and maybe it's going to stay there. We had no idea really that now there would be this whole resurgence of folk and Americana. We just wanted to do folk music.
So what did that folk music turn into?
Well, that's the funny part is that we did a couple shows as like a folk duo, and man, one day for Christmas we took all of our Christmas presents back, got a pile of money, went and bought a couple of electric guitars, and we went back to his house, my house, and we were playing all of our old folk tunes on these electric guitars. And on one particular song, right before we were going to hit the chorus, he comes over and stomps on my distortion pedal that I had plugged up for some reason. And I don't know what that reason was, but I did. He came over and stomped on it. And then so for like the next 10 or 12 years, that's what we did, like loud,
heavy metal,
like we started out as a punk band, and I would say that band turned into a new metal band, right? Late 90s, early 2000s.
Sure.
We were called Perfect Nothing, which has a little bit of a name in Central Indiana. So if you're listening from Central Indiana, you may have heard that name. You can find our music on Spotify. But so that's what we did for a little while. And then when that band ended, me and Randy really wanted to get back together and do folk again. And so we tried a couple variations of different things. And Brandon started playing with us again. And Brandon has been with me from the time that Brandon played bass with me. I don't even like playing in a band with Brandon's not playing bass. Like, I don't even want to have any part of it. Like, I need Brandon there. So, but yeah, so we ended up turning into like a honky tonk, like a straight up honky tonk band.
Hank Sr.
Like if you can think about Hank Sr. and Webb Pierce and Lefty Frizzell and Ray Price, we were really going for that sound, writing our own music. And we did that for a while. Before its time. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, we were way ahead of our time. But we were way ahead of our time, right? Like there were no venues and nobody looking for that sort of thing. Now in our city there is. Mm-hmm. And so that ran its course and we kind of strayed away again. And then just one day we were just like, guys, there's so many of us that play music. Like, why don't we play music? And about that time, Bob Dylan dropped The Basement Tapes Complete. Mm-hmm. So we're huge Dylan fans.
If you haven't heard it, it's worth a listen.
Yeah, and
very much so.
I've always been a fan of the Basement Tapes, but when he dropped Basement Tapes Complete about 10 years ago, me and Randy were just, I mean, I was like, this is it. I mean, just to me, it represents just this crazy free flow, creative wave of just let's try everything. Mm-hmm. Let's just throw it out there. Let's throw some lyrics at the wall. And like we just wanted to be so super creative, and the acoustic instruments were natural for that. Everybody kind of showed up and we started playing.
And it was weird because like you were inspired by the Basement Tapes, and our first year was all in Randy's basement.
Yeah.
It was just friends getting together and jamming.
It really was, yeah. Like if we didn't, that's 100% part of it too. Like if you played an instrument and we knew you, especially early on, like we weren't really a band at that point.
And we said, come on down and play with us. It's fun. We had no intention of recording or playing live or anything.
We were just writing songs, drinking beer and hanging out on Wednesday nights.
That feeds into that whole acoustic music kind of vibe because, it's a whole thing to just get together and grab their acoustic instruments and sit down. We've got a brewery around here that does that like 2 Sundays a month. You just show up whether you're playing guitar or the spoons or whatever you want, and you all just sit in a circle and toss out songs and jam. And
that's the vibe. Like that's what it should be.
Yeah, it's great. There's something beautiful about that. It's that
I'd love to have a place like that here right now. I mean, the problem is when I find a thing like that, and not that it doesn't exist. When I find a thing like that where they say, songwriters, come out and pick, it'll be fun. It is almost always die-hard, deep-cut bluegrass guys. Mm-hmm. And so every song is bluegrass. And then it gets to me, right? And they're like, do you want to do a song? I'm like, I'll just play along with you guys. Because they're just not, there's just not.
Wait. What song do you want to toss out though? What would, if you had your choice, what song would you toss?
Oh man, I'm always like, man, maybe these guys can handle liquor and weed, or
you're talking about original. He's talking about like covers, I think.
Oh no, I always want to do an original.
Okay.
I always want to throw out an original.
No, that's valid too. Yeah,
yeah, I always want to throw something at them like that. I don't know. I have a number of originals that I'm like, maybe I'd throw that out on the night. But then, like I said, it's this big group of like 30 guys, and they do one of these in my town on the first Tuesday of every month, and it's like 20 or 30 guys in a big circle, and you got people watching, and all those guys are bluegrass guys, and all those fans are bluegrass fans. So I went to a couple of them, never really feeling like I could break the mold, and I was happy to sit there and pick along with the bluegrass guys. And I don't know, maybe I just need to grow a pair and just jump into the pool of bluegrass and make a big splash.
You just play kind of a different style. Man. Yeah, you're a rhythm player with a rock background.
That's true.
That's a lot of us too.
You don't play the fast picking bluegrass.
Yeah,
really.
I don't.
That's what kind of makes this band, I think, appealing is that, we have acoustic instruments. We have, for a while we had stand-up bass. We have banjo, mandolin. We have a homemade 3-string license plate guitar.
It's basically a cigar box guitar.
Yeah.
Nice.
But you have all these acoustic instruments that are usually associated more with bluegrass and folk like that. But it is, we are, for all intents and purposes, a rock band playing these songs. And so it does kind of make a cool, different kind of vibe for people to hear, which I think.
And there's 7 of us, man. So people ask us, what do you got? What do you guys sound like? What's your sound? I never really know what to say. Really, what I like to tell people is that I don't really know what the Midwest sound is, but I think we're nailing it. Like I think we got it. Like I just think that our music, like if you. Like we sound like the Midwest to me. Like that's just a melting pot of genres, and I just think I would call us just Midwest. And I think if you were to take like a country band, or I would say like an Americana band and a rock band, and make them sit on the couch and hold hands and get along, that's our band.
Yeah.
I'll go with that.
Well, I'm not surprised to hear you say that you guys have that background with, the rock stuff and that kind of a thing, because that comes through in the music. There's almost a little bit of even like a, not a punk rock sound, but a punk rock attitude almost coming through somehow, and the essence of it, I guess, if that makes any sense to you.
We would get that honest. I think that we get that honest.
You asked, Brad kind of gave his background of where he came from, but like we all bring a different background. I come from obviously I started playing with Brad, my first band, and it was metal by the time I joined it, and I come from a metal background. Like we talked about Matt, who recorded me and him play in a very like technical heavy metal band together. And I've also played in a very like kind of like a noise grunge punk kind of thing. Basically, the punk rock crowd we were too metal for the punks and too punk for the metal guys. I guess I don't know. The punks were more receptive to us, so we played more punk to us. And so I've just played it, and really the only reason I play this genre of music is because my best friends are in it. And I do listen to a lot of things that fall into the category, but 9 times out of 10, they mention a musician that's like similar to us. I have no idea what they're talking about. I'll have to listen to it. I listen to it. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. I like this. But I love all music, so that's just kind of how I am. But I'm very much into metal and heavy music, I guess. And but honestly speaking, this is my favorite band I've ever played in, and because it's like some of the best group of musicians and guys to just have fun with. We just have fun. And then I ended up. I played in the honky tonk band, taught myself how to play upright bass and do all the slapping and stuff. We didn't have a drummer, so I had to provide percussion.
Sure.
And he was great. Yeah, he was great.
And I started off on the upright in this band, but my upright broke, had some issues, and we were just like, you should get a Fender, man. You should straight up.
Well, also wasn't the most portable of instruments as well, so it's a lot easier to carry this one around.
But I just know the electric bass better because that's what I've, they're really two different instruments. Mm-hmm. They're obviously based around the same thing, but they play so much differently. And I started playing the electric bass, and it just sounds so good. Mm. And that's what's on this record. The previous records I played the upright bass. This one I played my Fender, and it sounds great.
Yeah, you can definitely hear a difference. Yeah, now that you mention it, you can absolutely hear the bass.
Really different because it's my instrument, Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, that's my leading up into what we do.
Yeah,
and then you have Chris, who's an Irish guy.
This guy
and rock.
This guy leads his own. Well, he just recently took the reins of a traditional Irish band here in Indianapolis. His dad fronted it for 150 years. So his dad recently just tossed the reins over here. So he plays mando, bouzouki, the bodhrán. And if I said any of those wrong, you can tell me.
You nailed it. No, you got all three.
He's steeped in traditional Irish music and does a damn fine job.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just. There's so many. We're like a stew. There's just.
Well, there's the Irish stuff. If we're gonna move to talking about my background, I kind of got forced into doing Irish music, partially because of my dad.
You love it.
Oh, I do now. At 18, hey, Chris, you want to play the show with us? Not really. We could pay you. Well, I don't have solid plans tonight. I guess I can make it. But no, I played drums in bands long time for the longest time before that. And actually, this is kind of a fun thing too. Of everybody that's in this band now has played with at least one other member of Union Street Rally in a previous band. So Brad mentioned Perfect Nothing with Brandon, Dill, who isn't here today. He's one of our the cigar box player. He had another band called Medicated Becky, which John was a drummer for a while.
And then I was in another band with him called Hero.
Right.
So this is really all of our bands just deciding, why don't we disband all the other bands and
bring it all together, save some time.
Like Voltron,
Yeah. We are the Voltron of country bands.
Oh, yeah.
John got really excited.
John's quiet as a mouse this whole interview, and now, someone says Voltron.
Now you have to change his shorts,
and he wakes up. Voltron.
Yeah, Voltron.
Voltron had an extra appendage.
But that did kind of make putting this band together easier because at the very least, no matter who came in, there was that comfort level of for me. I played with Randy before. Randy and I had a 2-person garage rock band back in 2010.
Oh, the Headless Thompson
Gunner.
I played bass in that band for about 45 minutes.
It was about an hour and a half.
Maybe about an hour and a half.
Last practice.
Yeah. Is that a Warren Zevon reference?
It was a Warren Zevon.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
nice.
You. All right.
So I played Dungeons and Dragons, and I created an entire character based around Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner. Now he didn't use a Thompson gun, but it was the same story of revenge. And he has recently passed, and so for my new character, now I'm playing that son of a bitch Van Owen. And
nice, dude.
Yeah.
Keep the references coming, yeah. But just because we all already kind of had that comfort level of, okay, I'm going to come into this big group, but I've already played with this person. And then Matt Seaver came in, and he and I had a quasi bluegrass. We'll call it Mumford and Sons wannabes, right, if you want. Beer Lucy's way back in 2012. But just because of that, we all had someone that we can kind of feed off of as we're getting comfortable with everybody else. And so I think that kind of made this band come together even that much easier, I would say.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, one of the things that makes this band work too, I gotta say this is one of our rules when we started was you cannot bring any ego to this because we were just kind of tired of dealing. We were tired of dealing with that. Like, because you always have at least one person in every band whose ego just is bigger than anyone else in the room, and it's yeah. But we wanted to get away from that, and honestly, it's worked out so well for us. We just try to. I mean, I think to get on stage and play in front of people, your ego has to be, an okay ego, right? You can't just
healthy
ego, right? That's the key word. And because this band has like 4 front guys in it, people that are capable of leading a band.
Sure, and just have before, yeah.
Or are. I mean, you're leading a band. Dan Dill is doing the Medicated Becky thing right now, leading that band. I mean, there are people that have and are leading their own, bands outside of this. So, yeah, sometimes when people come to me like I'm the leader of the band because I sing, I'm like, I just feel strange because I'm just like, there is so much like leadership ability in this band. But the good thing is that we all know our assignments. Egos never get in the way. And just like tonight, we were like, hey, man, we're going to do this interview. We just need a couple of us. There was no fighting about that. It was like, It wasn't like, oh, I want to do it. I want to do it. No, you did that. It was just like, the first few people are like, I'll do it. A couple of guys, well, I don't care. Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. There's no ego there. It doesn't, there was no argument or fighting about that. It was just like, cool, man. Like we just exist in this Zen state, I hope.
But even with that, like everyone brings something to the group as well. Like outside of musical ability, like I mean, everyone in this group is a good musician, but everyone's kind of taking a role. Like, I mean, Brad's obviously the principal songwriter. He brings all the that side of the creativity to the group. Dan is a brilliant graphic illustrator, and he's done all the branding. I think he did the album cover for the new album, and anything. Billy. He created Billy. He created the mascot of the band.
He created our logo, Billy.
We had that. I take care of a lot of the booking and communication.
He doesn't take care of a lot of. He takes care of pretty much all.
About 95% of it.
Yeah,
more or less. But everyone, and then Randy, I guess, is kind of taking care of the administrative side of like our streaming and stuff.
And he's our resident like wacko on stage.
That's true.
People are like, dude, what's going on?
How does your banjo player have that much energy? Like, he's a former metal frontman. He's got it's his instincts.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and it does. I mean, you're talking about something very communal, and that is the type of music that you guys play. I mean, that is the whole, again, going back to that sort of back porch picking of everyone just showing up with their acoustic instruments and playing together. I mean, that is the music. That is the spirit. And so, you're just carrying that into the future with your, your varied sounds and whatnot, but you're still bringing that same attitude, that same energy, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I would say that's the vibe that we're going for, is just friends playing on the back porch. And then every once in a while we share it with everybody else by playing a show.
Yeah.
I mean,
the show is kind of us playing shows was kind of an organic thing. Yeah. You're putting albums, like it all kind of happened organically, step by step. Like they mentioned earlier, like this wasn't meant to be a serious band, but it's funny because we got together at our old guitar player's house and he threw in a new song, and that was kind of like that. That's where it hit me. Like, this is good. Like, what we're writing is good music. We should play this. It's kind of funny because the song that made me want to do it is one that we've never played live. I don't even think we actually finished it.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
But yeah. So I just got an idea of like, let's just see how it goes. So we booked a show. Our first 2 shows was opening for a burlesque troupe here in Indianapolis,
which was not a bad gig.
Oh, it was great.
Not a bad gig.
The crowd was good too.
Creme de la Femme. Unfortunately, aren't together anymore.
Yeah.
But we give them all the credit for our first couple.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They gave us a really good boost, and it kind of gave us a confirmation of this is something special that.
Yeah, I think maybe we just kind of got to a point where we just were like getting to be super proud of what we were doing, and it just kind of got to a point where we just couldn't contain it in the basement anymore. And so we did it. So we were like, one day we're like, we should just play Randy's little party. So we played outside, had a few people at that. We got a good response there. I'm not really sure. I mean, I know Kelsey was friends with some of the Femmes, and so that's kind of how we got the line on that gig, right?
So to give background on that, so my old bluegrass band was supposed to play for them. And it's actually funny because the same theme show that we ended up doing years later, they were doing a Saturday Night Live theme show, and for whatever reason it got canceled. But they still kept in touch with me and said, okay, Chris, when you have a band, let us know. And it just kind of worked out where when they finally decided they were going to do the Saturday Night Live theme burlesque show, it was also the same time. I was like, hey, I think I might have a band that could do this. So it just kind of came full circle. Yeah.
And, so we played out a couple of times because of them. And I just think we got the itch again. You get that like, I don't know, because there's really no feeling you get that's like getting up on stage and kicking a little ass, and then you get down and sell a few albums. Like, that's, you can't.
It's a rush.
You can't really describe that if you haven't
you get
done
that feedback from the crowd, and
yeah. And for me personally, it was the first, it was the first time that. Well, I want to say the first time, because in the Honky Tonk Band, those were songs that that I was writing with Randy. But I would say these Union Suit Rally songs, to me, feel more personal, I think, than some of those other songs did. Even though they were personal, I feel like these Union Suit Rally songs felt a little more personal for me. So personally,
with a lot more backing as well,
to play those songs and get a good response it just kind of felt a little more special to me in a way.
Do you mean, so are the songs personal in a way that's like, is there a certain amount of autobiography to them, or just, is it a creativity pride kind of a thing? What's the personal aspect of it?
I would say that all of the songs start from someplace honest and start from someplace that is true. But they could go off the rail. A perfect example is Dixon Lane. I had a couple of lines written then, and I don't remember which ones they are, but they started from someplace real. And then, like, when I sat down to like just try to bang that out, obviously that song is not about a true person that I know that did any of those things, but it's just kind of how the story.
Same thing with Wildflowers.
Wildflowers is the same way. So I don't know. Wildflowers is on our first album, the EP, so you may not be as familiar, but that's a murder ballad, right? And I certainly have never killed anyone.
Allegedly.
But I really wanted to write like a Carter Family style murder ballad. So I think in a song like that, maybe the true part of that, the honest part of that song, is that I know what it's like to lose. I know what it's like to be heartbroken and hurt. I know the path that someone walks when they go from heartbroken lover to murderer. I know the path because I have felt that way in my life. But since I'm a normal person, you don't do the murder.
You do the Stephen King route. You write about it, you make it into a story, and let that be the outlet.
So maybe a song like that is a way for me then to live out that fantasy in a normal way and not serve prison time.
One that we can all enjoy.
Small Crimes is a good one that comes from.
So this is another example, and this is thanks Brandon. So Small Crimes is on the new album, and this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So Small Crimes started out as a song that I was writing about me dealing with how I was feeling during the pandemic. And it was just, I just felt just kind of trapped, like I was being suffocated in a way, right? We all dealt with different feelings during that time. But I had a part of a song, couldn't really figure out where to take it and what to do with it. And a friend of ours, I say friend of Brandon's, and he was an acquaintance of mine. That I unfortunately didn't know as well as maybe I would have liked to, but he was a good friend of Brandon's, his roommate for a little while. His name was Bob Fouts, and he very tragically passed away of drug overdose. And so Small Crimes eventually became about him, and that song is really not about me anymore. No part of it. It started from someplace honest about me, but it just morphed into being more about that, and kind of how I think maybe he felt, if that makes any sense. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
anyway, so
that's
they
the
all
way
start
it
from
works,
someplace
yeah.
real.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think so. As an artist myself, I've never written anything that ever ends up looking like what it started out as, right? You always start with those nuggets, but it's that truth. It's that truth that's there from beginning to end. Typically, that is what really resonates with people.
But then there are some songs that are 100% true. Horse That Runs Wild is a good example of this. That one comes from a conversation I was having with a friend of ours about a relationship that he was having at the time, and the eventual
ill-advised relationship.
The eventual Chernobyling of that relationship. is that
That's a good way to describe it.
Perfect.
And mind you, we're friends with both.
We are friends. We are friends with both of these people.
And both parties know that they are inspirations for the song.
They do.
Nice.
They do.
And they were both, and both parties were actually at our last show, and we're both dancing very hard to that song, knowing with a very healthy dose of self-awareness, which I appreciate.
There's got to be kind of cathartic for them, maybe.
Maybe it is. That's a fair point. Yeah.
So when you are playing live, are you doing a fair amount of riffing and jamming? Are you sticking to the script? Like, what's the style for the live shows?
So we're not really an improv band.
Structure-wise, it's pretty rigid.
We're pretty much sticking to we're pretty much sticking to the outline. Now, I would say
solos,
because solos may stray a little bit.
Yeah.
And on stage, I might yell out, "One more round, guys!" And what I mean by that is, let's take this out one more measure. And also, the guys are really great about listening for my mess ups, because I will inevitably play a bridge where there's just supposed to be like a short break. And this just happened our last gig. There's just this short break that goes from the first chorus to the second verse. And it's just this short little bloop, G break, right? And I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and play the next whole bridge in here. And the guys just kind of, looking back now, I can feel the moment where they were like looking at each other, and then they nodded, and they just kind of kept with me.
That's not the first. Yeah, my favorite my favorite moment like that. We were playing a show at the Melody Inn a couple of years ago. I think we were playing Mamie, which we still have not recorded. Next record. Anyway, but no, there's a part of this, like a part where we start singing La La La. It's a la la.
Oh, it's a la 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 part.
Yeah, it's a la 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 part. And I start singing it like, with my whole ass chest, and Brad's not. And so, and I'm like, what the fuck? And so I look, and Brandon gives me the look of, just back off, we're good. So that is a good that is a good example of us, like not just like being able to recover from mistakes, but also being able to communicate on stage pretty well non-verbally, and being able to kind of guide each other to keep the onstage product intact, when it could definitely fall off the rails.
That's the sign of the professionals, when you can run into those kind of mistakes and the audience is never even aware. That's when you truly are knocking it out. So So all right, so the album's out. It's been out for a little while now. Are you guys how far out do you play? Do you stay in the Indianapolis area? Are you out touring at all? Are you taking the album anywhere to promote it?
We're open to travel.
We'd be open. So the touring thing, like we're all like, well, I don't want to say we're all. Most of us are married with kids, and so we all have day jobs. We all have day jobs. That part makes it a little harder to be gone for a couple of weeks, because we gotta pay our bills.
Yeah.
So like in our mid-20s, I was cool with living on $0 a week, living in the back of a van or whatever.
With no health insurance.
Right. Yeah. But now I got to think about those things. Yeah. So we are open to traveling. We would play anywhere that would have us. If we got a gig in California, we would try to make it. We'd try to make it happen. If we can make it happen, we'd try to make it happen.
I have a good friend who lives in Wexford in Ireland, who was running a. He was running a small stage at the Electric Picnic Festival, which is basically like their Bonnaroo, out in the middle of Ireland. And he told me, hey, if you can get Union Suit Rally if you can get them to Ireland, we can't pay the airfare, so that's a challenge. But if you can get all you guys here with a reasonable amount of instruments that we wouldn't be able to otherwise replace, then I can get you guys on stage here. And we looked into it. Unfortunately, there was a lot of a lot of red tape and logistics that we were going to have to cut, to work through. So, but that said, I mean, obviously you're in Southern Michigan. That's not a terrible drive from us. The livery over in Benton Harbor is a lovely place that I've been to before.
Oh yeah, great venue, great music there.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So if you guys are listening, we're open to play on your stage if you'll have us.
Yeah. Obviously, we would play anywhere in the Midwest without too much thought or any, because we could just drive there, and maybe just spend the night or whatever, just drive back the next day.
Well, we know Jeff and Julie will have us in their place.
There you go.
They have plenty of room.
There you go. You got connections right there.
So Jeff's stepdaughter is my wife.
Okay. All right. That was the connection. That's right. Yeah.
So Julie's my mother-in-law. Jeff is my father-in-law.
So shout out to the Rices.
Shout out to the Rices. Thanks for hooking up with this.
But yeah, we would, like I said, if somebody offered us a gig and we could reasonably make it work, we'd make it work. But anywhere in the Midwest, we could work out.
Well, and for the folks listening at home, we keep mentioning Jeff. I guess I should clarify. Jeff is, I don't know, I guess a bar friend. I guess that's probably the best description.
That may be the best title he's ever had.
Oh, that's a great title. I want that title.
Bar, like Jeff Rice. Bar friend.
That's got to go on his LinkedIn profile.
I'll tell you this: people certainly have called him worse than that. You can ask them.
Yeah, people called us
he
worse
was
than
also
that.
Back in the day. So part of my production company, besides doing stuff like this, I also run events and games and trivia and stuff like that. And so one of my longest running trivia places was the bar I also used to hang out in with Jeff, and so he was one of my regular trivia teams for the longest time.
Okay.
I think
cool.
they were the Three Musketeers, maybe.
That's a great name.
Jeff and Julie are solid people, man.
Yeah. So we got to know each other through that. So he's turned me on to a couple of different good bands. He's a good dude. So
yeah, totally.
So what about what's the scene like in the indie area? I know one band from around there. I don't know if you know Hero Jr.
I've heard of them.
Oh wow, yeah.
They're I grew up with those guys. They're a rock and roll band. And Evan, the lead singer, came up here, and so most of what I know of the scene is kind of through him. And I've been down there once or twice, and I caught some blues shows. I know there's some places to go see the blues down there. But what's the scene like?
Liberty Noodle.
Yeah, of course.
That place is wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the scene here is pretty good. So like we've mentioned Fountain Square a few times early on in this interview. That's kind of become the hub of live music here in Indianapolis. They have the Hi-Fi and the Hi-Fi Annex, which is all run by a promotions company called MOKB Presents. That's where a lot of the touring acts that aren't big enough to play the 10,000 seat venues. That's where they end up, and they'll bring a lot of local bands there as well. There's a lot of good indie rock. There's some good country. We have the 8 Second Saloon, where there are a lot of good country places. Dukes. First of all, great honky tonk place and the best fried chicken in the Midwest.
Yeah, I would say Dukes is a great venue for a lot of reasons. Like I said, the food, the people, the bands, the overall look of the venue. I mean, Dukes is the kind of bar that you go in and you're like, I'm about to buy a T-shirt from this place because it's so awesome. So Dukes is wonderful. Like any town, there's a definite line in the sand, I think, here, because the market's different for cover bands than it is for original bands.
Sure. Yeah.
And I've got respect.
The venues are different. Yeah, the venues are different.
They're different. You're right. They're different. So you get a lot of times where you'll say, oh man, if you guys ever played up at the Ale Emporium, they'd love to have you. Well, then you find out that the Ale Emporium, and I'm just using them as an example. I don't know if this is true.
Great wings there, by the way.
Great wings.
Great pizza.
Maybe they just want somebody to come in and play for a couple hours that plays like top 40, 70s or 80s because they're trying to sell beer. You know what I mean? And I get that. And I've got all the respect in the world. This is not a diss on people that play cover music or cover songs. In my younger days, I might have been like, oh, they play cover songs. But hey, man, I got over that snobbery a long time ago. Okay. I have respect.
We write none of our own music.
This is a really hard industry I think to be successful in and to keep playing in and to keep doing your thing. So if your thing is, like 300 songs that were popular in the 70s and you got a group of people that can get out and kick ass playing that and you can make some money, respect.
Monetize that stuff.
But I would say that they're playing in venues that are not friendly to a band like ours, which we're looking for somebody that is friendly to original music.
Yeah.
So
Shout out the Melody Inn.
the Melody Inn, right?
Oh
Melody
God,
Inn.
yes.
That's like our.
The Melody Inn is they are the CBGBs of Indianapolis. Like,
That's a really good way to describe it.
yeah. They it's a great punk rock venue that has had us many times. Dick Dale played there a lot. If you're familiar with his guitar work, look him up. He's great.
But like you said, Fountain Square is a hub for original music. Melody Inn's a hub for original music. There are little pockets. Where we're welcome and accepted and appreciated. You
guys are giving me lots of places to visit next time I'm in Indy. So
you got to check out.
We'll give you a full tour, man.
Just call us and we'll go hang out.
I'm actually going to be there tomorrow, but it's going to be an in and out trip. I'm going down there to see Drive By Truckers play down there tomorrow night. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
They're doing that. They're doing the 20th anniversary of
Southern Rock Opera.
Southern Rock Opera. Yeah. So that's great, man. What a cool ticket that is. What a cool ticket.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's gonna be awesome. But no, it sounds like there's lots of fun going on in there.
If you ever get to the Melody Inn, dude, they have the best $11 pizza that you will ever. And listen, this thing. Look, I'm telling you, this thing. No. Okay, he's not wrong. This is like a frozen pizza. This is like a frozen pizza that he takes out and dresses it, because you can get cheese and pepperoni. He takes out and puts the pepperoni on there, and he puts some sort of. I don't know spice. This spice mix that he puts on there.
Shout out to David Brown.
Yeah, Dave Brown. Yeah. And I'm telling you, I don't know what it is, but
he's got a magic touch.
For $11.
Yeah,
you aren't getting a better pizza anywhere.
But also,
so good.
If you want to see some hidden gems of Indianapolis music, like that is a place, especially if you're on a Friday or especially Saturday night. So you were talking about punk rock energy earlier. So Melody Inn, like everything's about the pizza is 100% accurate. But one of the things that makes them super special on a national level is they actually on Saturday nights they have the longest running dedicated punk rock night in America. So like they are still every Saturday night they have punk rock bands, like really good punk rock bands every Saturday. So it's a really good spot to check out if you have a chance.
And the new Hillbilly Happy Hour.
Yes, Friday nights also. Yeah, thank you. Friday nights Hillbilly Happy Hour, which we've done a few. Dave, if you're listening, we're very happy to do more.
Hint.
Yeah. Nudge. But yeah. No, so Friday and Saturday nights, like there's definitely something special to see at the Melody Inn here in Indianapolis.
Nice.
For a very fair admission price as well.
Yeah. So as we start to wind this thing down, what's on the docket for you guys? I mean, you just put out some new music, so is it strictly getting out there playing some shows? Are you already in the writing process? What's in the future?
Well,
Brad's always in the writing process.
I would say
never ending.
The process right now is, I have like periods of prolificness, if that's the right word, where
that's a word.
I might write 3 songs in a couple of weeks, and then I have a dry spell, right, where I don't have anything for a while. And I just think writing and recording this record, because there's a couple songs on the record that literally the paint was still wet when we put those things down. The drummer hadn't even played in any of them or written his parts or anything. I mean, we were literally in studio writing part of that. And I want to say on a side note why I liked that. And I told these guys this. I'm a huge Jason Isbell fan.
Yeah.
And I watched a documentary that he was in recently, and he said something that just resonated with me while we were going into the studio to do this. He said, you can only create something once. After that, you're just trying to recreate it. So I just was like, man, it'd be cool to take these songs that hardly anyone knows in the studio and just lay them down in their basic form and just let everybody layer it as we go. And I'll tell you, those ended up being some of our better tunes. I mean, Devil's Daughter was like that.
I didn't know any of the chords of that
Yeah.
song going into the studio.
Love is
Or my
Law.
solo,
I would
yeah.
say Love is Law.
Yep.
I mean, we did a few tunes like that on the record that I really feel good about.
Yeah, there were a few where I had to like write down the chords on paper and like watch it, like my first take to know I was playing the right thing.
But I would say getting through that, the writing and recording of that, now I would say I've kind of had a little bit of a dry spell here over the last few weeks. Like I have plinked around a little bit and I've noted a couple lines that popped in my head that I like. And those may end up being something, but I haven't had any real zingers in a few weeks, but I got them coming.
So we're going this summer. We have a few shows booked. We're definitely, we have some irons in the fire for some other shows, especially we should be announcing a full album release concert soon. Hopefully we'll have that confirmed in the next week or two.
Nice. Okay.
And then we'll just kind of
got some private party gigs.
Yeah, some private party gigs. Yeah.
And man, I know there's some venues up there in Southern Michigan that have some open days.
Oh yeah. We'll see what's
We'll
in
get the word out. We'll get the word out for you.
AJ's in Berrien Springs. I hope you're listening. Livery.
You can get a hold of us on Facebook.
We'll do a full Southern Michigan tour.
There we go. There's a bit of a scene up here. It's we're having some good times up here musically. So
it sounds like you guys need a union tour out.
Yeah. Sounds like you need a bit of Central Indiana and Southern Michigan.
I mean, I'm not going to say no to that.
Yeah. So one more thing to mention as well. So we did get our vinyls pressed. This one is reserved for the guy who owns the house that we recorded it in.
Yeah.
But we do have vinyls, and we obviously our preference is to sell it at the shows that we're playing, but obviously to your listeners who might not be in Central Indiana, if they like what they hear and they want to order a vinyl or a CD, they can reach out to us.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I've shipped a couple.
Yeah.
And the first 100 vinyl,
including to Jeff and Julie, actually. Jeff and Julie just got their vinyl yesterday, I believe.
And the first 100 vinyl, limited edition pressing, orange vinyl.
Well, cool. And so we'll throw your socials and we'll throw, website and all that stuff on the show notes too, so people know where to find you and they know what shows are coming up, and
Awesome.
Hopefully they'll buy some of that vinyl off you too. So
yeah. Plus it came up with our best misquoted lyrics of all time now.
Oh, which one's that?
Oh. Yeah, so I say cool bay water.
He doesn't say the L.
And they say, and it's turned into Kube water, as if Kube water is some brand of water.
Yeah.
Or I was thinking Kobe, like that really expensive Japanese beef.
Hey, you know what? That just sounds like that's something you need to throw in the merch store right there. Some
Ooh,
water.
we've talked about this. We've absolutely talked about this.
Kube water.
That's right. Just get it straight from the tap and throw the label
We're gonna
on
make
it.
such a profit off this.
This isn't beer, it's Kube water.
It's Indiana, so it tastes quite a bit of limestone.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, guys. Thank you for taking the time to come on the show. I'm glad we could make this work. And I wish you luck with getting out there and promoting the album. When hopefully we can get you guys up here sometime and play a little show in Michiana.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Yeah, we'll see you in Niles.
See you later, dude.
Take care. Yep.
You have been listening to Anywhere the Needle Drops, a product of Red Chuck Productions. Be sure to keep tabs on everything going on with this show and everything else Red Chuck over at redchuckproductions.com or by following us at Red Chuck Productions on social media. Special thanks to Hero Jr. for our theme music. You can check them out, listen to their songs, and see where they're going to be over at herojrmusic.com. That's HEROJRMUSIC.com. Also, special thanks to Paul Clemson, our sound engineer and producer. And while you're at it, make sure you visit the websites and band camps and shows of all of our guests. If you want local music, if you want independent music, or any kind of art, you've got to support them. So give musicians and artists your money. We will see you at the next episode. Until then, here's to life.
Cause I, could I, would